This is a homage beat.
Conservative, a little deeper red.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think maybe that's partial text. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I mean that's interesting.
That is actually. I don't even because I know
Yeah.
a lot of them like except for Ohio. Like I can actually get Hawaii because you're
Yeah,
on the
Hawaii
beach.
makes sense.
You know.
Texas kind of stands out in Maine. I'm like, when would you do that? It's so cold up there, but it's something I've never really thought of because I'm used to just wearing clothes, and anytime somebody doesn't have clothes on, you notice it.
Yeah.
It's not, and if a woman doesn't have clothes on any time, like, you notice it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a kid or a boy, like, that's something you're, like, either having to keep your eyes closed from or you're trying to see it. So it's something that you never really think of until, you pick up a book, like what you're writing about, and really start to think about, like, why do I wear clothes? Why is it this way for why we're wearing clothes? Why do we think about it this way when women are not allowed to wear?
But would you say there is a double standard?
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a double standard. Yeah, without a doubt, it's a double standard, man. Like, if it's seen as okay for me to take my shirt off and change it, it's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But then if my daughter, my sister, my niece, whatever, takes her shirt off, everybody's like, whoa, you need to go to the bathroom. Like, that's inappropriate. Like, it's something there that we need to figure out.
Yeah.
Like, why is it okay for me but not for you?
Yeah.
Like, so there is some type of issue or just what we making contingencies. Like, well, it's okay for him, but it's not okay for you. Like, why? What's your real purpose in that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely agree it's a double
So as far as like if you had the power to like change legislation, would you say that it would be okay for men and not okay for women, or if you say man shouldn't go topless neither? Like if the cops had rolled through and you did it, you would get fined. Would you make the rule that nobody could go topless, or everybody could go topless, or just men? What would you put as the rule?
I'm subject to this double standard, man. I wouldn't say that it should be illegal for women to do it, and I wouldn't say it should be illegal for me to do it. It's just a tough question, man. Like, I got two little nieces. I don't want them taking their shirts off. Like, it's a tough question, man. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna make it illegal. Make it illegal for everybody.
Make it for everybody.
Because if things are a law, certain places, I know it's no different. Some places people pee right in the middle of public. But if I know I can't do that, I'm not going to do it. So if I know I'm not supposed to take my shirt off, I need to not do it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to make it a law, like if you're going to literally have a law that only women get arrested for indecent exposure for taking their shirts off, it needs to not be women. It needs to be any person in general. Because there may be men that people may feel is inappropriate for them to take their shirt off because they may not look the way people want to see when they take their shirts off. They may not be physically in shape like people may feel like it's something when people saying people got dad bods or something like that. They might not want to see that, man. People might not want to see that or something. So I don't know, man. Like, I would say it needs to be everybody. If you're gonna make a law for people to have their shirts on, everybody gotta wear shirts.
Yeah.
What about you, man?
Like I said, I was thinking about it because, like I said, I do have a daughter, and if I had this dream opportunity, I would love to start a school and do high school, and so there'd be gym class or whatever the case is. And I think most schools kind of have the rule where not even guys can be without a shirt, without topless.
Yeah.
So I think I would have everybody has to conform to that same kind of rule. But like you said, it's still kind of tough, because just generally in society, especially if you're at a beach, at a pool or something like that, the general consensus is that the guy has, a shirt off and everything. So I would agree with you. It's tough, but yeah. So yeah.
Y'all mess it up. It's not working.
It's just static. But I don't know who's just coming from now.
Hello?
Oh, there you go. Alright. Dude, no, you're fine. It was just hitting some static.
I thought went out. That'd be tragic trying to do it on the same mic.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough thing to have to deal with. But like I said, I would agree there is a double standard, and we've got to acknowledge that. Because there's the movement of like just gender equality. I believe Roshan's up in here with us, and he was just telling us how there was a rally in Raleigh, where women were protesting and they were topless, and they were fighting for this very thing that we were talking about. And I say when I'm writing, I say examples like this shed light on the controversy of censorship. I say in regards to the amount of clothing one has to wear, censorship plays a huge role. However, the issue most have with censorship is it's determined by one's discretion. I say it's impossible for everyone to agree on what is viewed as lewd, obscene, or offensive. I say for some people it's inappropriate for anybody to be topless in public. Others believe it's only acceptable for men, while others believe it's one's right for everybody. I say the point is there always be division on such a topic like this. But this, like I said, this idea of censorship it's really huge, and as married men, it's very huge for us because we have women, and me, I have a daughter in my life where it's like she's gonna become of age where she's gonna be asking for certain articles of clothing and this, that, and the third. And as a father, you just go change. That's just what's on your mind. But it's like if you have a son, that same kind of standard isn't there. So it's like in our society, we're censoring women a lot more than we're censoring men. And I don't know if that's just a reality of life where it is what it is, or is there some sort of solution? But what are your thoughts on this idea of censorship?
So when you say censorship, I'm thinking like my mind goes to like when we're looking at TV and we see like maybe it's generally a woman take her shirt off and like they put like a bar or something in front of it. And I think it's a tough question because I mean you see that like you really see a lot of television now, like you got cable like really like totally banning that out where like it doesn't even get to that point. But a lot of people are not really doing cable now. So if you go to Netflix, I mean, that's not even an issue. Yeah. Like whatever is up there is up there. So I mean, when we're thinking about censorship, it just really goes to like what people. Everybody doesn't agree on what you're saying is lewd. Like if you're censoring, like you may be censoring certain language. What curse word might bother me may not bother you. Yeah. What you may feel is inappropriate, like. Someone may feel it's inappropriate for a woman to have, like we were talking about earlier, having on the two-piece. Yeah. Somebody might feel that should be censored, but that doesn't bother me. So it's a tough question because like it really doesn't go by any set standard. We're just determining that standard by ourselves, and we're kind of saying like, well, I think it should be this. That's why it's an argument. It's a conflict all the time because we're setting our own standards and we're fickle. Like we go back and forth. Like you got the same person might feel this one day about censorship. There's something they have a baby and they're like no, like you might have a man like it could be me, I don't know. They have like one day I'm like, oh, I don't care, women can do whatever. Like yeah, okay, you wear that dress like that. But I have a daughter. The next month you hear me ringing something else like no, bring that down, take all these out. Like the story is like I'm so fickle. Like we're fickle with going and forward. We're going forward, we're going backwards, man. So and I just even see that working where I am in the schools, like with the dress codes. Yeah. Now. As a boy, the boys, they can't wear like tank tops and all that, but it's very few things in the dress code that really caters towards what boys can or can't wear. Yeah. Like, boys don't generally wear like, there's gonna be a lot of people may think different, but they don't generally wear shorts that's you're gonna need like 2 inches from the knee, or they don't wear like really skinny straps. Or they might wear a tank top or something, but once they know the rule, they kind of, a lot of these rules are catered towards like what girls should wear and what girls should wear, and girls with certain body types what they should wear and shouldn't wear. So we're taking a certain subset of people and we're trying to regulate how they should express themselves. I don't agree that that's right. Yeah. I agree that it should be maybe controlled in some sense, but it has to be controlled from a certain perspective. So that's where it comes from back to like the standard that we have. Your standard is different for different people. If someone is skinnier or they're not as shapely, it's okay if they wear something that's tight and form-fitting, but if they're more shapely, it's not okay. Yeah. Like, who's making that stand? Who's deciding what's okay and what's not?
Yeah, and like you said, that's the tricky thing, and because there are going to be more, I guess, standards when it comes to a woman because they just have more options and things like that. And so it's one of those tough things, and I think what we've got to be mindful of, a lot of the rules that are made about this idea of censorship, it comes from men. Yeah. So I think just for the optics and just for women, it can seem kind of like you said, you're kind of suppressing how I seek to express myself. Yeah. When I think, especially in the school system, I think, to be honest, even though you could take this with a grain of salt, I think possibly the women should come up with what they deem as the standard, or maybe collectively, and not just the women, but maybe more of the input comes from a woman's perspective.
And I'll be honest, like, the people that have made the biggest stick of the dress code at our school tends to be women, and I tend to see women favoring others over others, like choosing who they're going to address and who they don't address. So I've seen women set this standard for like other women and hold women to different standards. And it's hard for me to speak on it. I'm not a woman, so I don't know how it makes a woman feel to like come to you and be like, you shouldn't be. That's gotta be like something, I don't know how like you're a young girl trying to understand and learn yourself, and then somebody come to you like, you can't wear that. Yeah. It's inappropriate, but not telling you why, just telling you like you shouldn't wear that. Like it has to make her question those things about her body or whatever. You could, as a young man, I remember things happening to me wearing things, and my mom saying something, you shouldn't wear this, not knowing why she thought it was inappropriate. It affects you, so I can see where that can go and how can it affect your thinking.
Yeah, and like I said, just especially in the school system where that dynamic is really, really tricky, where again, you could call it whatever you want. I feel like it should be a woman approaching someone else, another young lady, about that. I don't think a man should be, just because it's gonna.
That's a situation you stay away from as a man. Just as a man, it's just it's just inappropriate to go to a teenage girl and say that, man. Like, one, you can't be in her shoes. You'll never know how it feels to make when you say that to her, whether you a man with daughters or not. You still not a young lady, and you haven't went through that. You haven't dealt with that, so you don't know how it makes them feel. Yeah, I think it needs to come from a woman, and it needs to come from a woman they trust. Like, you don't need to just be running around being the dress code police. You need to like have a relationship with somebody. Build a relationship with me before you come to me and rebuke me and let me know what I'm doing. So.
Yeah, and like I said, it's tricky as someone who's a husband and a father. I think the authority is a little bit different, so it's like balancing that. Your husband's going to be father. It's like you have a little bit more authority in your own home. But even at that, I know just from the outside looking in, it can almost seem as if, the husband is like the tyrant telling the wife what you can and you cannot wear. And so even trying to balance that is tricky.
That's going to have to, and I would even think like, what do you think about that? It just as like, you already have a daughter. I'm going to figure out if I'm going to have a daughter or a son, so might have to face this at some point, but like, just thinking about it, like, I'm thinking like, I'm going to be the dad, and I've even had this conversation with my wife where like, I'm going to really have to temper myself on like, not being the dad. As soon as I see something, like, if I see something short I see is inappropriate, like, throw that out, you ain't leaving this house. But then it's like, where's the balance at? Because what if she rebels against that? You know what I'm saying? What if that makes her feel a certain way and she rebels and she starts sneaking in her book bag, start doing all these things? What are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you feel like you're going to be able to balance that?
Yeah, like, it's tough because you have an idea of how you want to approach it. Like you said, I think it's easy as a man just to envision if you see your daughter in something or your wife or something, just to immediately snap and be like, nah, get out of here. As opposed to saying, hey, I don't, and just trying to come with all grace. And like I said, it's tough because as a man, you're like, no, you're not doing that. But there's a legitimate point where she might want to